We are ready to talk about instructions for Review and Preview 3.1.1 Part 1. Question 12 asks you to copy and complete some Giant 1 problems. Those are already on your answer sheet for you. And on your answer sheet, your job would be to fill in the correct Giant 1 that's being used, and then use that Giant 1 to figure out the missing value that's on the right. For Part C, just take a look at where the equal sign is. That's a little bit different than A and B, but it doesn't mean you have to do anything differently. For question 13, there are two girls, Rachel and Beth, who have each done some running. One says she goes this far in yards, the other one says she goes this far in feet. And your job is to decide, is Rachel correct? Because she's saying she ran farther than Beth. To be able to make this decision, you need to either change Rachel's to feet or change Beth's amount to yards to be able to compare them in a correct way. And as far as your answer goes, make sure you start by saying, is Rachel correct? It's either yes or no. And how do you know? You could use a statement that says, because Rachel ran this far and Beth ran this far, once you change them to compare them in the same way. That would be okay to use for how do you know. For question 14, there are two histograms that you're going to see in your ebook, and they are showing you heights of players on two different basketball teams, the Tigers and the Panthers. The histograms are set up the same way, they have the same bin width, but obviously you can tell by the heights of those bars there are different information there. So part A asks, which team has taller players? Keep this in mind. If you're trying to find the taller players, those would be the ones farther on the right. So we're looking to see which of the teams have more players on the right half of the histogram. Then for the shorter players, it would be the opposite. The shorter players are going to be on the left. So look at the left half of both sides of the histogram and see which team has more values there. So that will tell you your answers for Part A. Be sure to describe how do you know, and you can say, I looked at this half, I looked at that half, there were more here, there were more there. So use those kinds of terms in your how do you know. Part B asks which team has heights that vary more. If we're looking at things that vary, that means they're not as alike, they're more different. So we're looking to see where is the data more spread out, and where is it not grouped together? Where do we not see ones that are a lot alike? Where do we see more differences? And then for Part C, to decide which team has more players that are about the same height, you want to be looking to see in which spot do we see the highest frequency? Which spot has the highest frequency? In question 15, they're going to show you a figure and it asks you to find some information. So on Part A, there is a triangle. They want you to find the perimeter. And since we've got a couple of decimals and a whole number, you need to make sure that you line up your digits and your decimals before you add those together. Don't forget your label. For Part B, we see a rectangle. It looks like it's 4 by 7. So for Part B, you can either count each of those boxes or you can multiply the dimensions to find the area. Again, be sure you have a label that is appropriate for area. On Part C, with that rectangle that's there, they're asking us to find two things. Find the area, find the perimeter. So remember, area means we're going to multiply and include a label. And for perimeter, we have to add all four sides together and then make sure you include a label as well. For question 16, it says to write down at least 3 different pairs of numbers that add together to get 1. If you're going to take the simple route, there would only be one example where you can use 2 whole numbers that you would add together to get 1. 2 positive whole numbers, maybe I should say. The other examples would either have to be fractions or decimals, or if you wanted to get creative, you could use a combination of positive and negative numbers. So kind of up to you on how you go with question 16.